the Supreme Court voting 11-3-1 upholds the constitutionality of President Rodrigo Duterte's martial law declaration in Mindanao in a landmark ruling Tuesday.
The court dismissed the petitions by a vote of 11 of its members. 3 members voted to partially grant the petitions, and 1 member voted to grant the petitions.
The petitions, filed by 3 groups, including opposition lawmakers from the House of Representatives, argued that Duterte's Proclamation 216 had no sufficient factual basis. Malacanang calls the SC ruling a show of unity against the common enemy. The SC voted in an en banc session Tuesday after 3 days of oral arguments in June. The High Court spent the last day in a private session with Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana and Armed Forces Chief Eduardo Año. Lorenzana on Monday said he and Año had proven that there was basis for Duterte's proclamation. Philippine National Police Chief Ronald Dela Rosa earlier said he and Año were inclined to recommend the extension of martial law in Mindanao until the rehabilitation phase in Marawi City.
Nag-usap kami kahapon ni General Año. Pagkausapin, talungin kami ni Presidente, what will be our recommendation? Hindi pa ito matapos, extend natin.
The High Court issues the ruling as martial law in Mindanao, and the Marawi siege that triggered its proclamation entered day 43. Under the maximum 60-day period prescribed under the Constitution, martial law will be lifted on July 22 unless Duterte seeks an extension subject to congressional approval. President Rodrigo Duterte reappoints 4 cabinet secretaries previously bypassed by the Commission on Appointments. Malacanang releases the ad interim appointments of Social Secretary Judy Taguiwalo, Health Secretary Pauline Ubial, Agrarian Reform Secretary Rafael Mariano, and New Environment Secretary Roy Simatu Tuesday. Duterte signed the appointment documents on July 1. The CA bypassed Taguiwalo, Ubial, and Mariano after repeated cancellations of confirmation hearings, which led to their failure to get the CA nod before Congress adjourned. In her last confirmation hearing, Taguiwalo was grilled for her links with the Communist Party of the Philippines. She said that while the CPP endorsed her appointment to Duterte, she is not a member of the party. Ubial is facing opposition for her stand on condom distribution. Senate Majority Leader and CA member Tito Soto earlier warned he would block her confirmation if she pushes through with her condom distribution program in schools. The CA previously rejected 2 Duterte appointees, former Foreign Secretary Perfecto Yasay Jr. and former Environment Secretary Gina Lopez. The military on Tuesday says it has taken control of Dansalan College, a key terrorist stronghold in Marawi City. This comes during the 6th week of clashes between government forces against local terrorists, taking the troops closer to where about 100 hostages are believed to be kept. The Maute brothers, leaders of the Maute group, once went to Dansalan College. The school proved strategic in repelling military advances because of its high-rise structures that serve as machine gun nests and sniper vantage points. The military also claims to have retrieved a cadaver of a foreign fighter believed to be from Singapore, presumably among those who share the local terrorist group's allegiance to ISIS. Philippine National Police Chief Ronald Dela Rosa says the Special Action Force troops want to pull out of the new Bilibid prison where they're tasked to guard prison cells of high-profile convicts with links to illegal drugs. Dela Rosa says, quote, they themselves want to leave because they don't have complete control on the Bilibid drug lords. Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre earlier admitted drugs still proliferated in the high-security prison despite the deployment of SAF troopers. The SAF replaced Bureau of Corrections personnel in guarding at least 2 facilities inside the prison, Building 14 and the maximum security compound, where convicts who allegedly continue to run their drug operations are detained. Dela Rosa said the SAF troopers do not have total control of the prison because some convicted drug personalities were moved to either the medium or minimum security compounds, which the SAF does not control. The PNP chief says he wants to replace the SAF contingent currently deployed in Bilibid. Qatar on Monday responds to a list of demands from Saudi Arabia and its allies after the countries agreed to give a defiant Doha another 48 hours to address grievances. Details of the response are not immediately available, but it was supposedly delivered to Kuwait, which is acting as a mediator in the crisis. Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Egypt earlier said they were pushing back a deadline for Qatar to agree to a list of 13 demands they issued on June 22. A joint statement said they were extending the ultimatum at the request of Kuwait's emir. The demands included Doha ending support for the Muslim Brotherhood, closing Al Jazeera, downgrading diplomatic ties with Iran, and shutting down a Turkish military base in the emirate. Qatari officials earlier said the list of demands was made to be rejected. On Monday, British lawyers for Qatar denounced the demands as an affront to international law. In support of National Disaster Consciousness Month, Rappler will hold the first ever Agos Summit on Disaster Preparedness from July 7 to 8 at the Samsung Hall SM Ora, Taguig. The summit will gather disaster management experts, stakeholders, and volunteers to talk about how we can all be better prepared for climate change and disasters. Tickets are limited, so register today at agos.rappler.com.